Rocio was a key breadwinner and the household caregiver, sandwiched between her aging mother and her 4 daughters. Rocio had good reason to panic.
I'm turning 50 in December. What kind of job am I going to find? All these worries. How am I going to carry through with all my obligations and the kids, 3 kids in college, and my mom and my daughter in high school. So it was pretty bad. I came home and I just kind of collapsed.
But Rocio didn't panic. She kept her spirits up, grateful for the guidance of her financial planner.
With the help of my financial planner, I'm able to see that it has paid off a little bit of the baby steps that she took me through in terms of pay yourself, try to save us a little bit. It has helped. I could see it.
Now Rocio is working again, pulling in a steady income. For her, saving money offers protection against life's unexpected turns. But it's a challenge, to say the least, to think of saving for her own retirement.
It's just so far away. I'm not even, I feel that I'm younger than what I am, and so therefore I feel that I have the time. But at the same time, I know that I don't have the time. You know, it's like it's a catch-22.
Being the center of a multi-generational family sometimes taxes Rocio's ability to meet all of her commitments. But the family dynamic also brings her a special kind of fulfillment.
Everything is on me, from the cleaning to the cooking to the shopping to the paying bills to the dogs to our social life. But I wouldn't give up what I have for anything, you know. But it's hard. It's hard, but it's also very rewarding.
For Retirement Living, I'm Bob Beard.
And joining us now to talk about the sandwich generation is Susan Cunningham, a columnist for Virginia's Lifestyles 50 Plus. And she's the author of Unwrapping the Sandwich Generation, Life Vignettes about seniors and their adult boomer children. And we've been joined by Dr. Janice Wassel, the director of the Gerontology program at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro. Ladies, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Susan, your book is not the traditional instruction book. It doesn't tell you how to do things.
Right.
It tells stories.
It tells stories. What I found was that seniors and their adult children felt very much like they were alone in their feelings. They would say contradictory things to me, such as that, I know you haven't heard this before, but I know you have heard this before. And when I would share with them how other seniors were handling those particular same issues, they felt a little more comfort, a little more like somebody else was going through it, and so maybe I'm not so odd.
So there was a sameness to many of these stories, right?
Oh, yes. Well, there's a sameness to what's going on in their life. You know, do I move out of my home? Do I stay? Do I bring in in-home care? How do I talk to my kids? We all have those same issues, but how do we approach it? And everybody's different. Makes sense?
Janice, let me ask you, how does one approach the first conversation when you start to realize that your parents may be needing some help? And they don't want to really engage in that conversation. Do you have some suggestions?
Well, first, you should probably start that conversation before you've observed anything. The conversation should begin early so that it's a part of a continuing dialogue. And also, it's helpful to look and see, perhaps there's been something in the news, or a family friend has had a situation, and you can begin discussing, you know, your own personal family needs by saying, well, did you see what's happened to Elizabeth or Elizabeth's family and some of the decisions they've been making? And then begin that discussion. Unfortunately, most people wait too long to begin the discussion. So it's better to begin the discussion 10 years before you think you're going to need to really have that discussion.
You look like you agree, Susan.
Oh, yes. And that's the very... Planning ahead is so necessary as you age, and we don't. We just don't do it. And usually most people call me when they're in a panic. What do I do about X, Y, and Z? This has just happened. Where if they had talked about it earlier, so that you can do what the senior wants. So many times the senior feels threatened by the conversation, where in fact if you talk about it in advance, in fact you are doing exactly what they want. You're putting their desires out there and accomplishing that. I had a daughter tell me that she approached her mother, was trying to plan ahead, and the mother kept putting her off and putting her off until the daughter finally said, okay, I'm honoring you putting this off, these discussions. However, you need to know something. When the time comes, and I don't know what you want, we're going to do what I want. And that was a real eye-opener for Mom. She said, oh, maybe we better have this conversation. So it's a very good idea to talk in advance before you need it. Yes, I agree 100%.
There are certainly things that come up that you can't plan for.
Yes.
It happened with my mother-in-law, and we felt the time had come we had to take the keys away from her car. How do you do that? That's a very difficult thing. That's taking privacy away. That's like taking your checkbook away. But
independence away.
Yeah.
It's more than that. What was one of the most exciting things of being a teenager was getting that driver's license. And that meant you were independent. And transportation is going to be one of the major crises that we face as the boomers age. So unless we come up with some alternative options for the boomers in transportation, it will be a very critical question that we need to address.
But addressing finances in particular, I mean, my parents were willing to talk about some help in the household or where they should live and et cetera. But they had always, from the Depression on, been very fiercely proud of what they were able to do in terms of saving and creating their own safety and finances. They didn't really want to share that with me and my brother. How do you start that conversation?
That's a good question, and I don't know if that's the question you ask directly, or if that's the question you work with, and you begin to discuss the needs of having durable power of attorneys and all these other options that will provide them the opportunity to have their decisions honored, to directly ask them about their financial decisions and what they have. Most people still hold that fairly close to their heart.
Right, and is it important to somehow not get the door slammed so that the door is, there's a little bit of an edge there to open it when to make another pass at it? And if so, how do you do that?
I would suggest that you always think of how you would like to be treated as an older adult. And so if you put that first in your mind and begin to think how you're going to ask these questions and how you're going to present the needs or the options to that older adult parent in light of respecting them and their freedom and helping them so that you can honor their decisions, that's not going to be, the door won't be shut.
Well, it's fascinating. I want to talk a little bit about where you draw the line between your particular needs and your children's needs and the needs of your elderly parents. And all right. And when the Prudent Advisor returns, we'll continue this conversation with Susan Cunningham and Dr. Janice Wassel.
And a little later, we'll give you some tips about how to cope if you're in the middle of the sandwich generation.
Stay with us.